Hi, and welcome to the Beyond the Falls podcast. I'm Sarah Jenkins, and today I've got President of First National Bank, Jeff Johnson, with me. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you're busy, so it's really an honor to have you on. And Jeff has been so involved with the River Falls community in so many ways. You're president of First National Bank, River Falls sports broadcasting with football and basketball. You've been really highly involved with youth sports. I think every youth sport that my sons played, I've seen you at, and then of course you've got 7 children, and so you've been just involved with everything. It's kind of how I know you. Oh, and you're involved with the Athletic Boosters Club,
yes.
Right? So
correct. Yeah, it's you touched on one of the big things, the 7 children. It's we always have something to do when you have 7 kids. It's easy to stay out of trouble too, for sure, and your schedule's planned for you. So when you have a bunch of kids, as you know, being a parent, your life kind of revolves around them. And fortunately for Lori and I, we have a large family and we're busy. And it's a lot of fun. Yes,
and it's great. You just bring so much to the community, and it's greatly appreciated. I'd like to start out by asking, what brought you to River Falls?
What brought me to River Falls? Well, we came here in 2009, and it was strictly 100% for the job. There was a recruiter that contacted me. This was back when we lived down in the southeast Wisconsin area in Fort Atkinson. I worked at a bank in Fort Atkinson. Lori and I lived in Jefferson, which was the adjacent community, and had a recruiter that reached out, said there was a job at a bank up in River Falls that asked if I'd be interested. So the first thing I did was pull out a map and see where River Falls is, because I'd never been there before. And Lori had been here before in college. She played college basketball at La Crosse, but that was her total exposure to River Falls was just from basketball trips. So came up here for several interviews. We were at a stage in our life where our kids were a lot younger. Zach, Lori and my oldest boy, was entering 1st grade. We thought, okay, if we're ever going to do something different, now's the time. When they're younger and it's not as traumatic for them. So we took the plunge without knowing anybody in town, and I can tell you one thing, Sarah, we've never looked back. It's been a great move for us. The schools have been fantastic for our kids. The community's been great. Like you touched on, there's so much to do in our small town, and we're just really happy we did it. Yeah,
we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
I want to kind of talk a little bit about the bank, of course.
Sure.
You know, you guys are, I mean, I already kind of mentioned it, but you're highly involved with the community. I feel like I follow your social media on Facebook, and I just see you're always involved with everything that's going around. You guys want to touch a little bit about that and the community involvement with the bank?
With the bank? Sure. Bank's been a fixture in River Falls for 120 years now. It started back in 1904, and the Smith family has been the majority owner for basically that entire time period. And one of the things that they have always really pushed as a family, and what's really important to them, is community involvement from both the bank and its employees. And that's something that I certainly feel is very important as well. And we've just tried to keep that legacy going for the family over the years. Have a lot of community events. There's a lot that we can talk about. To me, the one I think is most important to me anyway is we have a 5K event every spring. I'm guessing you're familiar with that or have heard of that. What we do with the proceeds of that event is we purchase shoes for all of the new students in River Falls, the needy students in River Falls and in Prescott. And it's just been a great event that's really near and dear to my heart. Yeah. That that we can do that for the kids that really need things like shoes. So we have that event every year. Bank is involved in a lot of different things philanthropically, for sure. You mentioned the Booster Club. We've been a pretty heavy supporter of that. The food pantry, CBTC, the university, we have scholarships there. Obviously, a lot of the sports things that you see, First National Bank of River Falls Field, which was certainly a big endeavor that we undertook with the help of a lot of other businesses about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that the bank has been involved in over the years, and just happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask a little bit more about the field, if you want to just kind of expand on how that got started.
Sure. Interesting story. This was shortly after we moved to town. I think it was 2012, 2013. Josh Idem stopped into my office one day and had no idea what he wanted to talk about, and brought in a bunch of materials with him. And I said, "Oh, this was probably going to be some sort of request for something." And actually, he talked about his vision of the ballpark and it's obviously a big vision. I mean, you've been out there, I'm sure, many times, and it's beautiful ballpark that he had in mind. The Fish at that time were playing at the high school, if you can remember, and I took the boys out there to games at the high school, and there'd be 15, 20 people there, and not big crowds, and he had something much bigger in mind. So they needed a primary sponsor to get this thing going from a monetary standpoint, and called upon us, asked if we'd be interested, and took it to our board to get their thoughts, and they went along with it, thankfully. And as did a lot of other generous businesses in town. And about a year or two later, we had a beautiful ballpark, and it's great. It gets used all the time. High school team plays there now. The UW River Falls, the new baseball team there, is going to play there in the spring, which I'm really excited to see. I think a lot of people in town are. See baseball back at the university again. And without that ballpark, that may not happen, because they wouldn't have a place to play. So, really excited to be part of that, and they've really taken that and run with it, and it's just a beautiful place to spend a summer evening. So
I was just going to say, it's something I didn't have growing up in a bigger city, and so I just think it's awesome to have that for our community. It's a free night out if you want to go in the summer, and for sure. Beautiful facility. So
and they're allowing the young kids now to play out there too, as well. Some of the youth, 5th, 6th, 7th grade kids are able to play some games out there when it's available, and it's just a great community asset that we have here in River Falls.
Yeah, absolutely. If you wouldn't mind touching a little bit on, I know you kind of briefly said the history of First National Bank, but whatever you can share with us about the history of the bank would be.
About the bank? Sure. Like I said, it's been in the Smith family for nearly the entire 120-year time period. Going way back, Jeff Smith ran the bank for right around 34 years, from 1929 to 1963. And after he had passed away, David Smith, that's the name that a lot of people in town probably know of. He ran the bank from 1964 to 1994. And you've heard the name David Smith Stadium.
I was just going to say.
That's him. That's David Smith. So I would say most weeks at the bank, somebody will tell me a David Smith story. I never had the honor of meeting him, but he was a big community guy in River Falls for sure, believed in certainly youth sports, college sports. He was a fixture at Falcon games and Wildcat games, and just a big River Falls guy that did a lot for our community. So he ran the bank for about 30 years as well, and right around that time is when, towards the end of his time, we opened up a bank in Prescott. So that's our other branch right now. We opened up there in 1993. built the facility that's there now that you'll see in 1997. So we've been there since then. We moved into our Main Street and Locust Street location where we are now in 1974. So that building is, 50 years old now, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's been renovated a whole bunch of times. It's been renovated since I've been there. I think a lot of people that are in town now will remember what we did 7 or 8 years ago when we added that addition in the back and up. We added about 6,500 square feet of space.
Wow.
So we had
significant.
And we needed to. We had employees that were sitting in hallways, and they didn't have real good working spaces, and our lobby certainly needed to be modernized at that point. It certainly had it was built in 1974. It had a 1970 feel to it.
Yep.
And so we went through all of that, and building now is good to go, I think, for quite a while, and we're happy to be there.
Yeah, well, it's a great location too. I mean, I remember, for a while, the River Falls Days Parade, the dance was there, right?
Yes.
In the parking lot.
All the entertainment was there.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I want to circle back to the bank again. Kinds of loans do you guys offer? I mean, you offer everything from what kinds of personal loans, business loans? Can you expand a little bit on?
Yeah, pretty much all the standard loans that most banks offer. I think our bread and butter has been in a few different areas. The commercial real estate loans, we do a lot of those.
Yep. It's a nice, smooth process too. I've experienced it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. That's sort of our bread and butter, I think, is the commercial real estate area. There's a lot of rental properties, and certainly in River Falls that need banking services. Their owners do, and we do our best to try to take care of them, like you said. That and certainly the residential real estate as well. Those are probably our two big ones right there. You live that market every day, obviously, in your job, and it has its ups and downs, like it always has been and always will have. And but we pride ourselves in trying to provide the best service that we possibly can to our customers, and as efficiently as possible as well. So I'd say those are the two biggest ones. From the deposit end, we certainly have all the various deposit products that banks have. A lot of banks, including ours, in the digital area, have really tried to evolve over the last decade plus or so, with the online banking, the mobile banking. A lot of our customers right now we don't see anymore.
Sure.
It's really changed. When I started in banking back in 1987, I'm kind of dating myself a little bit here, you'd walk into a bank and you'd see 8, 9, 10 teller windows.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd be all lined up, and there'd be a long line of people waiting to use one. And that's just how banks were back then.
Yep.
Now, you walk into a bank, you got 3, maybe 3 or 4.
Yep.
You have a drive up, which gets used too. But I bet 70-75% of our customers we do not see on a regular basis. They use our digital products. So banking has had to evolve with that and offer digital products that the customers want. So, and we've done our best to try to do that.
Well, I think you guys have done a nice job. I know we use it at our house, and it's slick.
Thank you.
Saves us. I mean, it's a whole 2 blocks away from me, but it does save time.
It's just the convenience. Banks aren't open 24 hours a day, so if you want to deposit a check and it's like, okay, I can't get down to the bank this week, well, you can just use your phone.
Yes.
And scan it, and
it's done.
It's done.
It's nice.
Yes. And as a bank, all banks are just going to have to evolve over time to make sure that you're taking care of customers' needs, and as every generation goes through, their needs are a little bit different, right? And
absolutely.
we still do have a loyal following of customers that I can count on seeing in the bank every week too.
Yep.
And that's great.
It is.
Whatever's your preference.
Yeah.
And so we try to be all things to all people. It's not always successful, but we certainly do the best we can.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I'm going to go back to mortgages.
Sure.
If you had a crystal ball, and I want to bring it back because this is my world, right?
Sure.
And real estate mortgages and interest rates have. I mean, man, a year ago we were at 8% on your traditional 30-year mortgage. I don't know, we're hovering around 7 right now. And what are your predictions if you had a crystal ball? What do you think we're going to see in the home mortgage rates for 2025?
Well, if I had a crystal ball, I'd probably, no offense, I'd probably be sitting out on the beach right now if I knew those answers. But if I were to guess, we've kind of been in this time period now for a couple years-ish, maybe, where things have been slow. Things have been slow, in my opinion, because rates are higher.
Yep.
And we have a lot of customers that, mom and dad's families that would like to maybe move, but they have a mortgage right now that's at 2.5% to 3%, and they just can't justify giving that up to move into a mortgage that's around 7-ish.
Probably a higher price point than a couple
exactly.
years ago. Exactly.
Yep, and that's the other issue because homes obviously have gone up in value. So that to me is the crux of the problem right now. Is that I think you have people that want to move, they just can't justify it.
Yep.
So to answer your question, I think the Fed lowered rates 50 basis points a couple of meetings ago. It had a pretty good desired effect for about a week or two, and then rates kind of went back up again, as I'm sure you know. So I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think what you'll see over the next couple of years is you're not going to see a shift from 7% to 4%. I don't believe that's going to happen, but I think you'll see a gradual shift where it'll start to slowly decline.
Yep.
Maybe next year, potentially, it may start with a 5 at some point, maybe in the high 5s.
Yeah.
And that's progress.
Yep.
Looking historically, that's still a really good rate.
It is. I think it's around 7-ish is about the average rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you, again, dating myself, the first home I bought was 9.75, and I thought I was getting a deal.
Right.
Because it was 1 digit instead of 2. It wasn't 10. So I think that's probably what you're going to see, but
Who knows?
It could surprise us both. And,
yes.
But I if that does happen, I do think that you'll see the housing market get kick-started here, because I think that'll provide enough impetus for people to, okay, well, I can justify moving now because my payment's not going to be as high.
Even when they lowered that little bit this fall, I think we dipped under 6. Mm-hmm. I feel like my phone started ringing a little bit more. It was a little busier. And
ours did too.
Yeah.
Yep, ours did too. I remember one late afternoon, our mortgage person came in and talked to me, and she said, "Boy, my phone's just been ringing off the hook." I said, "That's great, right?" And she said, yeah, it is. And but then it went back up again.
It did, and it felt like it bounced up kind of quickly too.
Yes, it too quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's kind of seasonal too, as you know. We're in December now, right? And that's kind of a slow time of year for home sales anyway. So it's hopefully by spring, March, April, when people start to really think about, okay, maybe I'll put my house up for sale. Maybe it's time for us to look at upgrading. We can get the kids moved in the summer and that, and hopefully by then things will be a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'm already starting to hear conversations getting phone calls on people preparing for that spring market. So that's always a positive thing, I think.
Let's hope the market complies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to kind of, before we started shooting this, we were talking about high school basketball, and I know you broadcast the basketball and football games, but tell us a little bit what we're going to see with the Wildcats this year.
For basketball?
Yeah. And the Falcons. You do have a Falcon playing as well.
See a lot of basketball. Well, we have a light senior class.
Okay.
Preston, my son, and Eli Johnson are the two seniors that have experience playing varsity basketball. So, which is helpful. And then you have a lot of juniors that have got a little bit of playing time last year. Brody Gretz is back. He got a fair amount of playing time, so I expect him to play a lot. And then, I think you'll see a lot of juniors and some sophomores fighting for playing time. So I hear a lot about the practices from Preston when he gets home, and so far it sounds like the camaraderie of the team has been really good, and everybody seems very connected and excited, which is a good thing. And one thing, I don't know if you knew this, but we have a new coach this year.
Yes.
Zach Turpin is our head coach. Really like Zach. He's got big shoes to fill. Zach Campbell did an outstanding job during his 12 years here, and Zach's been his lead assistant for the last 4 years, I think. And he hired my wife, Lori, to be one of his assistants, so she'll be sitting on the bench with him. And so it's been kind of weird, Sarah. You're kind of used to having her around at night, the nights we are at home.
Yeah.
And
there are very few, I'm sure.
yeah, and now it's myself and the dogs, so it's because they're all at practice. But she's enjoying it too, and
it's very exciting,
and seems excited. And
because she's been involved with youth basketball just like you.
She has been. She's been the president of the youth boys basketball association for the last 5 years, I think it is.
Yeah.
And we've both been on the board since I've been in town, which 2010 I think we got involved with that. So so that's a good group. We try to give youth boys grades from 1st through 8th just the opportunity to play basketball.
Yeah.
And build their skills. Play in some competitive tournaments, obviously, that's part of it, but a lot of it at that level is just skill development.
Yep.
And just trying to get a little bit better and trying to get excited about playing basketball. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We had over 50 kids that went out for the high school team this year, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Big numbers.
You want big numbers, and then that sorts itself out when they get there, but I think as long as we can provide the high school program with big numbers, I think we're doing our job as a youth basketball board. So yeah, that's fun. Zach plays for UWRF for the Falcons, and so we've been going to all his games as well. And they've played a lot of close games so far. They're 3-3 as of right now, and they had a fun game in Madison a few weeks back against Wisconsin, which was something we're always going to remember as parents. So that's been a lot of fun too. He's a senior there, and time just flies. So,
right.
So
No kidding.
It seems like he was just playing in high school, and now he's going to be a senior in college and have to get a job someplace when he gets older. Hopefully, Zach, if you're listening. So no, but it's been great having him around, and he's at the house a lot, and it's good to see him. And I know it's fun for his brothers to watch him play, and I know it's fun. He'll be at his brother's games as well.
Yeah.
So,
it's awesome.
Good. Yeah, we're very lucky.
Before we kind of wrap up, is there anything that maybe I didn't touch on or I missed that you want to add?
I don't think anything major. I think you mentioned the Booster Club thing. That's a organization that's pretty near and dear to my heart as well. We formed that back in 2016. I think we were one of the only, if not the only, school in the Big Rivers Conference that did not have a Booster Club at that time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's how we kind of knew that as you'd go to games and you'd read the programs and it would say, oh, just sponsored by the Chippewa Falls Booster Club. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we should maybe think about doing something like that. And there was a group probably of 5 or 6 of us that got together and just started a thing from the ground up. Raleigh Hall was the AD back then, and he helped get us started. He was really instrumental in that as well. And it evolved from basically nothing to what we have now, where we're able to provide $50,000 to $60,000 of extra support for the athletic program at the high school every year.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm proud of too is that there's 22 boys and girls sports at the high school, and we supported all of them.
Yep.
And probably the most fun we have is usually in April. The coaches will give us their grant proposals, and we'll go through them. They'll ask, they're kind of their wish list of things that they want, and there's been years where we've granted them all.
That's awesome.
And that's great.
It is.
These are, I think we all know how tough things are at the high school level, certainly, and at all levels of school with budgets and whatnot. And these are just extra things that we're able to provide that we wouldn't be able to if we didn't. So that the scoreboard in the high school gym that we have now, that I think we've had that for about 4 years. The Booster Club was instrumental in donating money for that, along with some other businesses in town.
Yeah.
We've bought blocking sleds, we've bought hockey equipment, video equipment to record sporting events, all of those types of things.
Yeah.
So, it's a good organization, as you know, and you've
absolutely
been a very good donor as well. We appreciate that, and that's one cause that I think all the businesses in the community have really got behind. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I know you're a busy guy, so I truly appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Falls.